This is section 1.3 of AP Microeconomics. Let's get started. So now we're going to talk about the production possibilities curve, because in any society you have unlimited wants, but as you know, resources are limited, something talked about in scarcity. As a result of having limited resources, we have to consider opportunity costs. We can't always get everything we want, and we've got to make choices. So opportunity cost is the next best alternative that's sacrificed when we make a choice. So for me being here, maybe I could have been working and made money doing something else. So that would be my opportunity cost, right? And we also want to think about what is efficient in any economy. Efficiency is a method where there's no way to make people better off without making others worse off, right? So now we're going to talk about the production possibilities curve. The production possibilities curve is simply all possible combinations illustrated on a graph for only two goods that they can produce using every available resource and technology. So here we have an economy, and in this economy we can make cupcakes, we can make cookies, we can make 50 cupcakes and no cookies, or 100 cookies and no cupcakes, or some combination in between. Now, if we're producing anywhere on this line, any combination of these two, we are considered efficient. If we're producing inside of this line, we're not efficient. Maybe there's a power outage, maybe some workers are sick, maybe some ovens are down. There could be a variety of reasons for this. And anything outside this line is simply not sustainable and not attainable. All right. So when we have a straight line PPC, there's two things you need to understand. First is that we have a constant opportunity cost. So that's why you don't see any grid lines here, because the slope is the same throughout this line. As long as you have the intercepts, you know the slope. So it doesn't matter where you are on this line, the slope is obviously the same. Second is that in a society where the PPC is straight line, resources are perfectly interchangeable. Again, we think of resources, we think of factors of production. So for instance, the ovens that are used to make cookies are also used to make cupcakes. So that's why we say those resources are interchangeable. Also the workers. A worker who can make a cupcake, maybe it's a pastry chef, probably also can make cookies just as well. All right. So that's what we think of when we think of a constant opportunity cost straight line PPC. And just to do one or two of these, if we were to say, what is the opportunity cost for one cookie? We have to think about what we're giving up. Okay, so every time we're going to make another cookie, we're giving up a cupcake. But how many cupcakes? Remember, you can make 100 cookies or 50 cupcakes. So that means that for every one cookie, it would be equivalent to 1/2 of a cupcake. All right. On the opposite side, if you were to say, what is the opportunity cost of one cupcake? 2 cookies. So if you think about the slope here, for every one cupcake, there are 2 cookies. And that's why these work the way they do. Now, these two questions are not the same. They look the same, but they're not. Number 3 is essentially the same question as number 1. Number 3 is like saying if we had a wedding and the bride wanted 37 cookies instead of 36. So she said, well, what if we made one more cookie? What if we made that 37th cookie? Well, then you'd give up 1/2 a cupcake. This is like the bride saying, well, I didn't ask for any cookies, but now I want 37. So instead of going from 36 to 37, like number 3, now you're going from 0 cookies to 37 cookies. And if you went from 0 to 37, remember, you're giving up 1/2 cupcake for every cookie, which would be 37 divided by 2, 18.5 cupcakes. Now we're going to look at what we call a concave or bowed out PPC. Now, the opportunity costs are not the same. We don't have the same slope. The slope changes throughout this curve. Okay, in this case, resources are not perfectly interchangeable. What's used to make televisions are also not used to make computers. Different workers have different skills, different capital, etc. So every time you're going to make more of, let's say, more computers, you're giving up those resources that are very valuable and very efficient for the televisions, and now you're bringing them to computers, but they're not as efficient with making computers. So let's take a look at this. The opportunity cost of going from 300 televisions to 450. All right, well, 300 televisions is right here. And if we were to go to 450 televisions, that would be point C. So what are we giving up from going from point B to point C? We're giving up computers. How many computers? We're giving up 100. We're going from 550 to 450. All right. Now, let's talk about the shifting of the curve. Whenever we think of shifting this curve in or outward, it just comes down to one thing. Are you changing the quantity or quality of resources? If the answer is yes, the curve shifts. So if it's some type of addition, like an increase in technology, workers immigrating into the country, increase in the labor force, all right, anything, you have more land, maybe you're winning a war and you've won some land, now you can build on that land. That would shift your curve outward. Inward would be something destructive. Think about the Maui fires. That was very destructive. Could be a virus with a very high fatality rate. Could be nuclear war, natural disaster. So all those things would shift the curve inward. All right. Now, I'm not going to go through this example. This is just some additional practice, but we have a table here where you can play video games or do your homework or some combination. So think about these three. Maybe pause the video and see if you can, if these make sense and if you can get those right. Now, in this particular example, I was showing you a case where here was the original PPC. It was the inward line. We have the Society of Fortnite making sugar and potatoes. But what if there was a technology that could produce more potatoes but not more sugar? Well, then notice only the potatoes shifts out. The sugar remains the same. Okay. If the technology could produce both and there was an increase in technology for both of them, then the entire curve on both intercepts would shift. But because it's only an advancement in producing potatoes, that's why only the potatoes is shifting out. Okay. And then if we look at this, which efficient point would lead to most future economic growth? Remember, efficiency is only on the line, so that'd be only C or D. And it would be point C, because point C produces more capital goods. And capital goods, like such as research and development, any type of advancement into our capital, it's about the future for capital goods. Consumer goods are about the now, like food, like feeding yourselves. So if you're making more capital goods, it's an investment in your future. So that's why point C would lead to more growth. All right. And said here, if economy was producing at point D, and now we had unemployment, where would we be producing at? Well, unemployment brings us inward. Remember, it doesn't shift it inward. Unemployment does not shift the curve inward. It just means you're inefficient now. It'd be different if it was death, maybe, as opposed to an unemployment. Okay. And a concave curve, a bowed out curve, always has increasing opportunity costs. Decreasing opportunity costs wouldn't make any sense. It's like you're putting your worst resources first. Increasing opportunity costs means you're putting your best workers where they should be, your best resources where they should be, and as you bring more resources there, they don't do a good job. So that's why those costs are increasing. Okay. What would have to happen in order for this economy to produce at point E? Again, we would need some increase in the quantity or quality of resources. Here are some assumptions about production possibilities curves, such as we assume a fixed amount of resources. We assume efficient production, no waste. We also assume full employment is on the curve and that we're only producing two goods. All right. So that's it for production possibility curve. Hope that was helpful.